Hi folks, I'm Dan Dworkis and this is the Emergency Mind Project. In this series of 3 critical concepts videos, we're going to be looking at 3 different structures that teams use to perform in times of crisis and emergency. Knowing these structures is really important. Knowing their strengths, weaknesses, and how to use them will help you apply knowledge under pressure across whatever type of an organization you're working in. All right, so let's get started. In this video, we're going to begin with intact teams. Now, intact teams are something you're probably already familiar with, and the easiest way to think about it, the easiest mental model to use is a sports team, right? So when we think about this women's soccer team, it's an intact team. It's a cohesive group that's operating together to achieve an objective under pressure. These folks were selected to be part of this team. They practice together. When it comes to game day, they perform together. They use that cohesion, what they know about each individual, what they know about how that person's likely to perform, how to communicate. They use all of their shared history to achieve that objective. After the game, they recover together. They do things like barbecues at each other's houses, I'm going to guess, right? And they do that to maintain this sense of cohesion. They learn, they study game day tapes, and they get better to do it again tomorrow. Using the Emergency Mind Project lingo, what that means is that they go through all the steps of prepare, perform, recover, and evolve together as a cohesive unit. And what that lets them do, what that lets intact teams do, is perform at ultra high levels, right? They're able to use what they know about each other, this shared ritual, this shared history, this shared set of experiences to perform at ultra high levels. Now, I'm no fighter pilot, but you could imagine how hard it would be for 4 strangers to operate planes like this, to perform this very challenging acrobatic pilotry here in a way if they had never talked to each other before, right? So intact teams, though, they're able to use that history and that cohesion to perform at an ultra high level. Now, in emergencies, in medicine in general, intact teams are honestly pretty rare. And we're going to see in other videos when we look at things like swarm teams that what happens in a hospital during a cardiac arrest really isn't typically an intact team. Now, there are, however, some examples, and one of the most important of that is a surgical team, right? Surgery teams are selected to operate together. They go into an operating room and actually perform together. They debrief together, and they often try and experiment new techniques and work together to get better, right? So we see surgical teams in medicine as examples of intact teams. The strength of an intact team, like we already said, is that they're able to perform at a really high level. Now, one of the reasons they can do that is because their second strength is the ability to evolve at a really high level. Because they have so much time together and so much cohesion, they're able to run experiments. They're able to communicate with each other, to debrief together, and to design and try new ideas. The weakness of an intact team is the amount of time and energy it takes to build one, right? You can't just put people together and expect them to operate all at once, right? If you want a coherent, intact operating team, you need to spend time, energy, and resources to build that. So that is a bit of a challenge. Speaking of challenges, let's think about what you can do with this information to get better no matter what type of an organization you're working in. So first off, if you're in an intact team, your challenge is going to be to run that intact team as efficiently and effectively as possible. But if you're not in an intact team, your challenge is going to be harnessing the learning of intact teams, right? Intact teams are able to do this evolution at a much higher rate and a much higher effectiveness than non-intact teams. So how can you use what they learn? How can you take those lessons and spread it across the rest of your organization? All right, that's intact teams. In the next set of videos, we're going to look at smash teams and swarm teams. Now, if you want to be more involved with the Emergency Mind Project community, we would love to have you, and there are so many ways to jump in. The easiest way is to head to emergencymind.com, go to the upper right of your screen there, and take that crisis skills test. All right, I hope you enjoyed.